Yo, welcome everybody back to the Sloan Colfax podcast. I'm your host, Marcus Sloan. Today's guest, we got a special guest in the building, Harlem's very own. When you think about Harlem, New York, you think about guys, the flash, the bravado, the confidence, and my guest today embodies all of that. I first met this guy probably 2016 maybe. And he was with an organization called Basketball University. And he walked out on the court, and I instantly knew he was different. His team was prepared. He was swagged up.
Talk about it.
He walked out in front. I was like, yo, who is this dude coaching? Team was swagged up, had some players. And from the moment the game started, I kind of knew, okay, this is going to be a battle.
Yeah.
Since then, we kind of formed a relationship, formed a friendship, a brotherhood, bounced several ideas off each other. He's given me sound advice over the years, and I'm going to introduce him first. I'm going to tell a story. Today's guest, we got Teddy Wheeler in the building. Teddy, appreciate you joining Sloan Colfax.
I appreciate the opportunity to join you. Thank you so much.
I was coaching AAU with the Houston Defenders the summer of 2016, 2017. And my last summer coaching the Defenders, we were in Vegas for the Dino's Trigonis event. And Teddy and Basketball University, Rossi Kieran, they were there. And so we were in the airport. And so we were talking about players and different things in Houston and across the country. And Teddy was like, yo, you should probably go into scouting. Probably will start your scouting service. And I kind of been thinking about it back and forth. And at the time, in the city, we were competing for players and competing against each other. So I was like, oh, maybe, they're just trying to get me out of the game, But he was like, I think you should start your own scouting service and start really jumping in that lane. And so on the plane ride from Vegas, the more I thought about it, I was like, you know what? I kind of love the scouting report. I love evaluation. It might be a good idea. And so that fall, the fall of 2017, I kind of started writing articles at OTRexposure.com and then kind of just took off from there. So Teddy was one of the guys, Rossi too, actually, we had both they were both in the conversation. We started the dialogue with me with OTR Exposure. And so, man, I just want to, first give you your flowers for that, just kind of always being kind of knowing the situation and always kind of having the right thing to say. Sometimes, especially us as black men, Teddy and I have talked about this, it's hard for us to give each other flowers or give each other sound advice or even be transparent about, your feelings or say, hey, I think you would be good at this. And so Teddy's always been big on that. So even for me, I'm trying to, embody that as well. And kind of when I see dudes doing, a good job, or when I see somebody in a certain lane, trying to give them their flowers too. And that. So
yeah,
I'm gonna give you flowers for that.
I appreciate that. Teddy,
again, you're from Harlem, New York. Moved to Houston. Kind of talk about your background a little bit.
Well, originally, like you said, I'm born in New York City. Was raised in Harlem. Raised by my parents. I have 5 brothers and sisters. And, I grew up in the 80s and early 90s. And so just during that time period itself was a huge transition. It was a shift, not only in our community, but in communities like Harlem all across the country. With the crack era and different drugs being introduced to our communities, you started seeing certain things change as far as, what was happening with the leadership. Like people who were natural leaders, people who had charisma, things started changing. And so you saw it's not only the advent of different economic empowerment through illegal things, but also you saw the fall. You saw how some of those people started getting real life sentences and serious things like that. And you saw the demise of the professional middle class, right? The people who were working, they got kind of caught up in the drug scene. So you saw some of the things that kind of cautionary tales. And so growing up, the one thing that kind of kept us out of trouble was sports. And we don't play football in New York City.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's not something we do. Yeah. So we play basketball. So we was always, kind of in the playgrounds and the parks and going to different areas to kind of battle and kind of test your 5 against my 5 kind of thing, and matching up with different dudes and going to different gyms and kind of learning the game like that, like literal on the ground, like on the pavements. And so that's kind of how I got introduced to the game. I played for a coach. You know, it wasn't AAU at the time. The amateur scene was basically run by leagues. You know what I'm saying? It was more league driven, and so playing in different leagues, you know, you got a chance to see some of the guys who ended up being more the successful players at that time. But the team that I played with, it was the Mustangs. Right? It was ironic because now Houston Christian still Mustangs, but you know, the guy Tony Rosa, he kind of was a guy that took the kids from the neighborhood, put together teams, and played against, you know, the more prominent sneaker sponsored at some point teams, right? And we would have great players, you know, to kind of go against those guys. So that was my basketball journey. After high school, I realized I wasn't good enough to continue to play. You know, it was different things, different factors that we could talk about at some point. I'm sure organically in a conversation will come up. But I started coaching. The same guy who I played for gave me an opportunity to coach. So right when I got out of high school, I started coaching. And he had his own league at the time called the Little East League, where there was a draft. It was a real organized type of infrastructure where we had a draft, and we would kind of pick each other's, you know, the best player from each team, that kind of thing, and kind of start having teams. And the teams were based on the schools of the Big East, like Georgetown, St. John, Villanova, Syracuse. Real cool thing for the neighborhood, all the kids that come big time. So that was my introduction into coaching. And from there, you know, professionally just continue to do other things outside of basketball. And then eventually met my wife at Rucker Park in '97.
You met your wife at the Rucker?
At the Rucker.
Oh, that's big.
Yeah, we met at Rucker Park the first day of Rucker, like kind of like LL Cool J song. You know what I'm saying? And so met her. Maybe 3 or 4 years later, got married. I went into finance. I was in finance for 10 years. I traded equity options on the American Stock Exchange for 8 years. Got my buyout at the end of '07, right before the bubble bust on Wall Street. Took the severance package. Had a brother that was living in Houston.
Okay.
Came down here. He used to always tell me, "Yo, come down here. The weather's great.
Yeah.
It's cheaper. Cost of living is better. You could raise your family." We had 3 kids at the time, and she was pregnant with number 4. So during that time, I was, you know, had a couple different things. I was the managing partner in a bar. I was working on Wall Street, just got out of that. So I was always on the go, like having, you know, 19, 20-hour work days, literally. And so I was looking for a change of pace, right? So came down to Houston and got a little bit more Southern hospitality. Kind of liked it. And I never went back in terms of professionally. And so we ended up having our 4th child here, and then we got going in this community.
So when you come to Houston with your family, when did you kind of jump in the basketball scene? You started because training first or coaching?
Yeah, it was almost immediately, because just having some money to fall back on, it was kind of like I kind of was able to chill for a second, kind of figure out my next move, because at the time I didn't know it, but like God was preparing me for something else. Like it was a transition going on. So sometimes you got to be still. Like you can't just be moving for the sake of movement. Like activity is not necessarily production. And so I was just kind of sitting, kind of figuring some things out, got involved in the church, which is Pilgrim Rest Missionary Baptist Church on Richmond and Jeanette. It's like the oldest Baptist church in the city of Houston. I started doing some things there, getting around other good black brothers who were like family oriented. And that was the first time I saw grandfathers and families with 5 and 6 kids and people loving on each other in a very spiritual but in a very intentional way. And so one of the guys that I met during that time was the guy Jeremy Peters, and he was at the YMCA. So we would go over there and hoop, and I was still hooping at the time. So this is 08 now, so I'm like 34 at the time. And I would go over there to play just to stay active. And Montana wasn't yet, he was probably still on a stroller. He 2 or 3 years old, but Xavier just started playing. So we got him hooked up in the YMCA league. And Jeremy's son is the same age as Xavier, Jeremy Jr. They clicked up immediately, which in turn me and Jeremy clicked up. He kind of took me in like a brother and kind of showed me around in terms of the basketball gyms, A-Leaf Community Center, the Y, Fundy, like he was taking me around League America. And so through that experience of him playing with that team, I started meeting some other people. and then you return to your first love with passion.
Yep.
Like anytime you get separated from your first love and you get back to that, the passion is actually even stronger. So once I got back to ball, I was like, okay, cool. I'm not distracted.
Yep.
I can get back to something that I love to do, that I always was drawn to. And I got a call from Lucas.
John Lucas.
John Lucas, like 6 in the morning, real talk, 6:30 in the morning. He called me up. Hey, boss, you know, heard, you know, I need you to come work this camp for me. So I'm like, who is it? He's like, it's John Lucas, Coach Lucas.
Yeah.
And so I had met Bilal Batley.
Yep.
At U of H. I had met him through League of America. They was doing training. Him and Dirk Minifield was running some stuff, and they would watch me work out.
Yeah.
And so I think he made the connection. I never asked because it wasn't really as important as it is just to mention in the conversation. But I did the first camp right way.
Okay.
So it was like maybe 4 or 5 coaches. All those guys are still involved in the game doing some good stuff. They had a coaches tournament at that. And it was really deep. It was dope. I actually won that coaches tournament, by the way. But once I started getting around some high-level players, I'm like, oh, I might as well just go ahead and do this, jump in this right here.
Yeah.
So we started getting around some really good players and developing guys that was around us. And then Xavier got the bug seriously at that time. He was on it at like, 8 or 9 years old. So we took the neighborhood kids and started a team, the Houston All-Stars. Jeremy kind of spearheaded that whole thing. And then we started playing. Then we started playing the teams from Dallas and San Antonio. Started moving around. We went to AAU Nationals, 3rd grade. Started doing that kind of stuff. So that's kind of how I got jumped started. Yeah.
So again, like I mentioned earlier, I met Teddy with when he was coaching with Basketball University. So obviously, you hooked up with Rossi Karen, who I've been knowing since I was 16, 17 years old. And you guys were with Basketball University. Now, at the time, when I jumped on the scene, at first I was with the Hoops with the young group, and then I was with the Defenders, the older group. And so obviously I knew Rossi, and I heard basketball, heard about he was doing some training with Basketball University. And then I saw you. So at the time, the kids you guys had were Quentin Grimes.
Yeah.
LJ Cryer.
Yeah, monsters. Xavier Wheeler.
Xavier, for sure, was young on that group.
Suleiman Doumbia.
Who's at TCU. And so I saw this group, and y'all walked in. I was like, yo, they got some players.
Calvin Solomon.
Yeah, and so on the court, you could tell I was like I said, I was like, oh, these, it's some real basketball development.
Sure.
A lot of times at the time, BU was on the Adidas circuit.
Yeah.
And, people go back and forth. Teddy and I talked about this. Like, when you're on the shoe circuit, are you developing or are you showcasing? Is it the platform?
Sure.
Are you supposed to get better? And I'm always under the assumption that when you play on Adidas or EYBL or even Under Armour, it's the platform. You have to pretty much be there. And, the getting better part is something you have to do on your own.
Yeah.
But the difference with Basketball University was that it was both, actually. You guys were developing and you had a stage for the kids to play on. Kind of speak on that a little bit, Teddy, as far as you guys being different in that aspect.
Yeah, well, I think Basketball University, I think you let Rossi tell it, and he'll tell it the way it accurately is history to him, is he started it as a training program. And so because of the origins of the training aspect, that was always in our fundamental core values, right? We're going to get better, right? And we're going to be in the gym. We're going to do it 12 months out of the year. Me being a coach, I identify myself as a coach.
Yep.
So me being a coach, I'm going to naturally be in the gym helping guys get better. And also it gave us a chance to not have to be in the rat race of chasing around kids. We don't have to be running around chasing these kids. If we could just keep our guys in the gym, our kids going to end up better anyway. Because, I feel like we do a better brand of basketball. So, that was a natural thing for us to be able to keep our guys busy and active. We can stay engaged with their parents that way. But ultimately, when it came to July, after being with those kids from the previous July, our kids would be showcased in a way that the college coaches will want them because they saw the growth over the last 12 months. And the connected with relationships, we wouldn't lose players because we were instilled in the gym. So that was kind of what that was about. And I think that for the most part, our kids grew. The same kids that were on 14s play 15, 16, 7. Calvin Solomon was at UTSA, play 15, 16, 7s. Abdul Alatishe is with the Clippers right now. He played multiple years with us. Quinn Grimes played multiple years with us. Will Baker, Cryer played, 14, 15, 16, 17s. You know what I'm saying? Like, Xavier grew up in the program, 17s. I mean, whatever that is, 7th grade, which is 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. So, like, we had our best players were multiple summer guys. And so I think that was a caveat of ours. That was an asset for us to be able to develop our guys. But you got to have the know-how.
Correct.
Just also, being in the gym, this kids train every day, can't hoop.
Correct.
You know what I'm saying? Because they're getting the wrong instruction. So being able to help them with the development piece is important.
And now, Teddy, just again, this is a conversation piece, but what you just said is, I always say this too, like, so many guys that are trainers, coaches, so many. In your opinion, what, I guess, can determine if you are a good trainer, or, like, do you think it's too many trainers? And, like, because to me it's like,
I'm sighing.
If it's so many trainers, so many high-level trainers, why aren't
there's so many high-level players? Correct.
Because again, it's an argument right now. Well, not an argument.
A debate.
Discussion. A debate. Dallas and Houston. And what I'm saying is, the last since 2019 to 2020, the top shelf Dallas players are different than the top shelf Houston players. Houston may have more depth, but we're talking about the Mickey D's. Those guys are different. And so is it a situation to where those kids are like, they are more prepared, or they better? And just circling back, do you feel like there are too many trainers, and what defines a trainer?
I think if you're going to objectively look at data, it can't be a 2-year snapshot. You know what I'm saying?
Yep, that's fair.
I think you got to look at it more of a 10-year. Now you can start seeing some real trends. So I think just having a knee-jerk reaction to 2 or 3 classes is not fair. That's not realistic. I don't think in any other industry they look at it like that. So let's not do that with this. But in terms of Dallas, they do a great job. Obviously, they got good people doing great things with those guys. How many trainers, or are there too many trainers? Probably. It's probably too many rappers too, right? So you know what I'm saying? It's like, if you want to find the best stuff, but part of our problem is that we anoint people who are not ready.
You talking about kids or trainers?
All of the above. Okay. Like, we anoint people before they're ready. And so,
what determines somebody's ready?
So I'm gonna give you an example.
Okay.
All right, cool. So in terms of the trainer thing, like, I had a guy that's probably semi-familiar to both of us. Semi-familiar to me. He might be more familiar to you.
Okay.
But he had talked to a parent that's in the gym with me and said, listen, you should go train with my guy because he's better than Teddy Wheeler. And it's like, man, listen, if you actually knew my resume as a coach or trainer, it would be more respect, but it would be actually tribute to what I've accomplished in the basketball space. To try to compare somebody who might be 30 years old, 20 years old is not fair to that guy. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you have to get age to grow gray hair. Like, you can't just choose those experiences. Like, you got to actually go through them. So you have a generation of kids that come out and have success, and then teach a next generation of kids. That guy's just getting started. So I think a lot of times we promote guys because it's convenient. It may be cheaper. It may be a friend that I know I can control, maybe monetarily, but we empower guys' brand over the actual quality of the work. Now, I feel like my thing is like blue magic. Like, if you don't mess with it, you're going to have success. So people have given me this label of like, oh, he does great stuff with point guards. And I'm sure we'll get to that at some point. But, like, if you look at Miller Kopp, you know what I'm saying, who might be one of the most unathletic kids at that size, to have the level of success that he's had at every level. You know what I'm saying? If you look at guys who are just like the new thing now, like Carter Seeliger, right? Who's like the new player now that everybody gonna be talking. Like, these guys are standing right in front of you, you know what I'm saying, and have been able to take leaps and bounds, right? Abdul Alatishe, we talked about in Vegas. I tried to give him to the local schools. Now, I don't want to do our people wrong by throwing names out there, right? But if this the same kid ends up being the Pac-12 most outstanding player and didn't have a mid-major grade, much less a Division I grade, it's a problem. Calvin Solomon, another guy. Javon Lowry, another. Like, I can go on and on and on about players that Basketball University identified, right?
True. Very
developed,
very true,
right? Coached and then delivered at the high major, mid major, or Division I level, who has success. So yes, there probably are too trainers because it's a quick buck. You don't have to be certified.
Now, Teddy, let me say this, not to cut you off. You mentioned something about longevity. And so it's a saying, you know, even Jay-Z said it, you know, you've been in the game 10, I've been in the game 5, right? So what if a guy just, because I personally have dealt with this, what if a guy just naturally, he has it?
Yeah.
Because sometimes guys naturally have it. And so to your point, if a person, maybe you said it takes, your resume is 20 years and a guy's been doing it for 5. But the guy who does it for 5, he has natural gifts and abilities, and he's impacted, maybe not the way you've done longevity-wise, but he's made a super impact in a short period of time.
It just depends on what we're talking about. Like, what are we discussing? Are we discussing this guy's better? Because now you got to understand, like, what are we're actually better at?
I got you.
You know what I'm saying? Is he saying, is he qualified? Maybe.
Okay, yeah, but but say someone's better.
It's a different conversation. So that's I think we have enough really good people. Who are doing some really, really excellent things in terms of, you know, coaching and doing player development stuff, and, you know, and helping guys get better. But you don't know until the results come in.
It's true.
You don't know until the results come. So there's kids training every day. And there's kids who are training in gyms with other players that they see every day. But if the results are not coming in with productivity, it's like, man, we got to look at what we're cooking with, who's preparing the meal.
Speaking of productivity, Teddy Wheeler's oldest son, Xavier Wheeler, is the current point guard at Kentucky. Started off at Georgia, 2-time SEC assist leader. I also tweeted that when he was in high school.
You
so
did tweet
he would lead the SEC in assists one day. He is under 6 feet. You have another son, Montana Wheeler, who's arguably one of the top sophomore point guards in the country. He's also under 6 feet.
And Lincoln Wheeler will be next, by the way.
And that's your youngest son? Lincoln Wheeler's coming too. And so people, you mentioned earlier, people say, oh, Teddy's great with point guards, right? Before we jump on that quickly, the father-son dynamic. Coaching, teaching, training, the when you cut it off, and as far as coaching, trainer to dad, that's something I'm always interested in. My son's 9. He's kind of think he likes basketball. I'm not sure if I'm going to coach him or not. And so I'm always intrigued about that dynamic. For you, with your son, you said Xavier got the bug at 8, 9 years old to where he is today, even with Montana and your youngest son, Lincoln. As a dad first, what is that like for you as far as making that decision, say, hey, I'm going to train my sons, and knowing when to turn it off, when to turn it on, when to be coach, when to be dad, when to be trainer?
Well, certainly I don't think anyone can do what I've done with my kids because of the relationships that I've developed with my kids off the court, right? So in terms of if I knew farming, if I knew agriculture, I would teach them that. You know what I mean? As a man, you got to master something, right? You got to have the ability to share that information, right? And you got to have enough character that, you know, you understand the balance of dealing with the different dynamics that come with it, and not be overbearing, right? Not be inappropriate in certain ways, but not be too soft on them either, right? And so I've tried to make sure that there's a balance between my role as coach. Like, there's certain conversations, there's certain engagement that we have as player coach that probably wouldn't have in other spaces. Is that fair? Like, in terms of the type of dynamics of communication, you know what I mean? There's a certain respect that I not demand, but I command in a room dealing with individuals that you may not raise your voice, right? But in a basketball sense, and we're getting at each other at practice, he can respond a certain way, and I've enabled that response. I haven't said, yeah, you can yell at me. I'm just saying I've created a comfort level. And so you've got to be able to tune it out where if he doesn't have a good game, it's still love. Like, he can fail publicly with me because he knows his identity doesn't start with him being a player. You know what I'm saying? He can identify himself as a player, as I identify myself as a coach in some rooms, but that's not the total man. You know what I mean? So you have a safe space. You got to be able to fail publicly and still be a loving individual towards your child. I don't critique him when we get in the car. Now, I may critique how he handled certain situations in terms of interactions with another coach, with an official, maybe with another player, but we're not talking about, you know, missed shots, missed assignments in the car. we letting that move on in terms of that. I think a lot of things go left in the car after a game. A lot of things go left in the car after a practice, a training session, where if you just gave it the same intentionality of waiting 24 hours, which is a golden rule, then you probably wouldn't have had that uncomfortable conversation. And things that you would, you know, take back, you can't take them back. You know what I'm saying? The tongue is devilish, you know what I'm saying? And you got to kind of keep that thing under control. So I think it's wise to kind of create some type of division between you, the parent, and you, the coach. And I think we've managed that as a family pretty good. With my wife's assistance too, by the way. Because, you know, she kind of gives me a little bit of balance in that sense. In terms
She's the buffer.
Yeah, and just as a liaison between us, but also helping me understand, like, you know, their emotional state.
Correct.
You know what I'm saying? Even prior to the game, prior to the competition. And so, and I'm the kind of dad that I put them in situations where it was going to be difficult. Right? You know what I'm saying? So
God had a smoke.
Yeah, that's just, and we can talk about that a little or a lot, but I think that's a great preparation for life.
With your sons, me just being a basketball historian in Houston, since I graduated high school 2001, there's only been a handful of guards under 5'11" go Division I. There's maybe only been 2 go high major. Off the top of my head, I'm thinking about Kendrick Davis, Xavier Wheeler. I can't think of anyone else.
It's hard. You got to know the details. Got to have it.
The other, I mean, Trey Wesley's under 6 feet.
Played with me too. Raised Trey. You know
so it's not many guys. So for you, knowing that obviously people have a height bias.
I love Trey Wesley, by the way. What's up, Trey?
People have a height bias in this game.
Sure.
What is that like for you, training quote unquote smaller guards and turning them into high major basketball players, mid major point guards?
My childhood friend, if I have one friend on this earth, you know, his name is Shandu McNeil. He runs the New York Lightning. And, you know, we were going back and forth one night just dialoguing about it. And I was really giving him his props. Talk about giving flowers. Amazing resume. He kind of helped me navigate. He was a co-pilot for me through the grassroots stuff, particularly with my own kids and what I did with them. It's still involved on a day-to-day level with me and my sons. You know, I think I came to the number of 13 Division I signees that couldn't dunk the ball. That I've coached or developed. 13. That's a staggering number. That's probably more than anyone. Maybe I think 2 guys combined. And so for us, it's about knowing how to play. Like, you got to know how to play. And there are deep details and nuances in the game that if you don't play the game or you're not obsessed with the game, you're not going to learn them. The way that I kind of appropriated to is that what makes Floyd Mayweather Jr. such a great fighter is Roger Mayweather and Floyd Sr. They took some losses. They took some losses. And so when they went back, they had all the regrets and the urgency in their voice when they're teaching Floyd, yo, you got to look out for that left hook. It's coming right behind. When he feints, that left hook is coming. So because of my public battles with some of the best guards that ever come out of New York, and I took some losses in those games, it built grit, but also built an attention to detail, where I could learn the game at a different level. And because I knew, or I had the vision for having sons myself, I knew that I was gonna help my son kind of overcome some of the losses that I took. And so that's been a huge help for me, is being in the arena against some of the best. So when my kids play against you, he's matching up. Some of these guys that are involved with grassroots have sons. They guarding a small forward. They playing 2-3 zone. They guarding the weakest dude on the court. If Xavier Wheeler is on the court, he's guarding his guy. Montana, if that you're supposed to be good, we coming for that. You know what I'm saying? And because of the details that I think I've been able to share with them, it's helped prepare them to have success and not be afraid of taking a loss, not be afraid of getting scored on, getting dunked on, getting crossed over. So we take the fear out of it. We take the fear out of it. And replace that with power, love, and a sound mind. I think that's the biggest thing that you can do for your kid.
Teddy, if I'm in Opelousas and I got a 5'9" guard,
you better come see me.
What if I can't come see you? What are some of the things or some advice you would give to a parent or even a kid watching this who may see your son and say on ESPN, say, damn, man, I'm 5'7", I could be like Xavier Wheeler one day. Yeah. What advice would you give him as a middle schooler, high schooler, to some of the things he could work on or possibly like focus on?
Well, I've actually taken the liberty of taking some steps to be able to help guys who are not proximate to me. So this year I did a gifted and talented program, which is I identified certain kids that may not be able to get to me very easily, and I did some online courses where I can break down film and be able to help guys with that. And if you go on Teddy Wheeler Basketball on Instagram and shoot me a DM, I can tell you when the next class starts. But just being able to help guys who are not near me be able to utilize some of the things that I teach. That's the first thing. The second thing is this: I would be more have a growth mindset, like be driven by actually getting better, the process of doing the actual work instead of focusing on someone else. You say run your own race.
Run your race,
right?
every
But
day.
I think about in terms of having a routine in place, being committed to that routine, and then at checkpoints checking the results. Right? The data we talked about earlier, it's important. It's important to know the stats. So if I ask young fella, his name is Kareem, how much you average? He should be able to tell me what his points, assists, rebounds, assist to turnover ratio, and different stats like that. What's your team record? You'll be surprised. I ask some juniors that they don't know.
Yeah, they don't know.
So they don't know if they're getting better. They don't know if they, when they started doing 300 shots a day, or I give them a routine. They don't know if it's improving them out. There's no baseline. They're just working out in the dark, and I don't think that's conducive to having success. So I would get with somebody who can help you put together a routine that may not be standing next to you. Definitely get with me in terms of that gifted and talented program, where I can kind of help shape how you view the game, how you see the game, how you anticipate the game, and then from there be able to be around other guys who are really good too. You can test yourself and not be afraid to match up.
Yeah, Teddy, you again, we talked about this earlier. You being from New York, bravado, swag, confidence. You raising your sons, start with Xavier Wheeler, very good point guard. When you're at the top, like Basketball University was, you get a lot of hate, social media, things you hear privately, things you may see publicly. As a father first, how'd you navigate that with your son?
Yeah, that's a great question.
And as a coach, Basketball University, how'd you navigate that? And even as a trainer, people might say, oh, he had these deficiencies. His dad's supposed to be this elite trainer, but he can't do X, Y, Z. How did you handle that personally, individually, and as a family? Because always, again, I'm in an arena where I'm very public with everything I do, my family, my career. And so when people take shots, it's difficult at times to not respond or not engage. And you've done a really good job with not publicly engaging or responding to the negativity, to the hate, even to when people, give props, you kind of like stay even keeled. So how did you handle that situation or situations like that with Xavier growing up?
First of all, if I thought they were a peer, or if I thought that they could impact my son, I confronted them.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And confronting social media, I didn't grow up in a social media era. I grew up, if you got a problem with a man or there's a difference with a man, you go see the man. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And I've mastered to some extent on the path of mastering the art of being confrontational but non-threatening. I think as men, we got to confront issues, whether they are with another man or with a company or with a job. You know what I'm saying? I think we got to be more comfortable with confronting things. I think that's an area of growth for us, particularly as black men. It doesn't have to be toxic, but you shouldn't walk around having, some feelings about something. Now, if it's somebody that I don't think can really move the needle, like some hater in left field, you know what I'm saying? I probably won't pay it no attention. Yeah. I'll take note of it, though. Yeah. But I probably won't address it to the same way. In terms of Xavier, that was a balance. That was a delicate balance. And I think some of the things that are happening right now are people paying for the sins of that. That is karma related to that. Yeah. Like if you're doing injustice to people, there is no holy scripture that doesn't refer that. That's coming back to you. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So I think I let that stuff kind of play itself out, but I did address my son. But I affirm them consistently. You know what I'm saying? There's constant affirmations that's coming from my house. So there's a balance to that. Now, if they didn't get that, excuse me, if they didn't get that, then maybe it would have been a bigger problem. But it was teaching moments, just saying, this is how goofies act. You know, this is how people that you should not be, you know, looking up to. This is how they behave. And, you know, we can't meddle with stuff like that. We got to stay above that. But it was hard to some extent because of it's not so much you want the adulation of your peers, you just don't want your kids to be bothered by it.
Correct.
You see what I'm saying? Like, I don't need someone outside to tell my son he's great. I just don't want you to tell him that he's not as good as I may think. So that's a little hurtful. But I think in terms of particularly in our community, we've always had a problem with affirming each other because we were taught to hate each other. That goes back ancestors, right? We had a problem with being able to give each other love or show each other respect or say something public. We have no problem saying something negative about each other. You know what I'm saying? The problem is when you stand on and say something great about that person. So I think some of that stuff is a lack of knowledge of self, not having a true understanding what your purpose is and what your voice can do to someone else, and not utilizing your gifts and opportunities in a way that's conducive to having any kind of community building. And so I think that's a big thing that we probably overlooking as a community. We struggle with that. And so with Xavier, I probably had 2 or 3 conversations that I felt was necessary to kind of get him back refocused on, hey, like, you're doing a great job. Like, you know what I'm saying? These guys that are talking have never done this. You know, they probably never coached someone who's done these things. So you may always have someone saying something, but just kind of shrug that off.
And now, do you think that's prepared him for the BBN? You know, for instance, like, people don't understand, like, Kentucky basketball is different.
Oh, it's super different.
It is different than, I talked about this with Aaron Harrison before, like, people playing weddings and babies and all type of things around Kentucky basketball schedule. Excuse me. And so Kentucky fans are sometimes unrealistic and irrational. And so you as a father, now he's on the next level, how are those conversations now? Because now it's a grander scale than grassroots Houston or maybe grassroots Texas. So how those conversations you had as a sophomore, junior in high school, now they're also still relevant today.
Yeah, you said a great thing there in terms of try to use the same approach, because, you know, when you had, you know, 26-8 on North Carolina, you know, or 16-10 on Duke, or, you know what I'm saying, 21-11 on Tennessee, like, we didn't engage that either. We're not saying, look at me there. Correct. So if someone gives me props on Twitter, I may give them. Yeah, I may, you know what I'm saying? I do that, but I'm not going to be public with it, because you got to kind of keep the even kill. You got to know that the real affirmation doesn't come from man. You know what I'm saying? Like, that should not validate your existence or what your purpose is. You can't get your purpose from the applause. You know what I'm saying? Your purpose has got to be something different from that.
It's going to be a clip. That's you cannot get your purpose from applause. That's huge right there.
Yeah. So
my wife and I talk about that. Actually, I had to cut you off, and it's something I struggle with currently. I'm like, yo, like, I don't get the I feel like I don't get the respect. Like, and she always like, who doesn't respect you?
Right. You're looking at the person that respects you.
She was like, who doesn't respect you? Like,
that's valid.
Who are these people aren't giving you props? So you get people call you every day or let you know how good a job you're doing.
Right.
Like,
you know how many people over the last 5 years that told me, who are 8th graders today, I took my son to see Xavier play Silsby or Sam Houston, or that Bel Air game against Max Evans, I was there. Or I took my son to see him against whoever it is, the Ashton Hagens game, you know what I'm saying? Or the game against Kyra Lewis, I was there, you know, and it made me tell my son, you could do it. But in turn, I created the environment where he could believe he could do it. We drove to Dallas to watch, you know, Tyler Ulis outplay Emmanuel Mudiay. I was there. We was courtside. So we went to see guys where he could look. Some part of self-efficacy, which is, we could talk about that in length, but not maybe a different conversation for a different day, is vicarious thoughts. So you got to be able to see someone else do it. So, man, I could do that.
Correct.
I could do that. So I put my kids in position so it wouldn't be a vision that they've never seen actualized.
You got to see
right?
it.
You got to see it. You know what I'm saying? So for Montana, it's rich. That's why he's a year ahead, because he saw it from his own blood.
Yeah.
He said, I see that. I'm going to do that. So he a year ahead for us. So,
and in terms of you, again, speaking on black fathers, I think black fatherhood is an amazing thing. I think it's a topic that should always be celebrated, especially from, like you said earlier, our lineage of how we were taught to hate each other, and they took the black fathers away from us in various stages, whether it's slavery now, whether it's prison system, Reaganomics, or whatever it may be. You being a black father, also coaching other young black children, right, black boys, the daddy ball thing, for you, the balance of being able to coach your son hard and being able to coach other kids as well. What was it like for you?
Well, daddy ball is a phrase that came about through Houston. Like we never, like, there was no dads coaching in New York. Dudes was hustling. You know what I'm saying? So that was a new phenomenon. So it never resonated with me. And then my kids learn how to play the right way. They're not shooting all the balls. You know, they're not out there taking 30 shots and losing half the games. They're not doing that. So it's like we got to play a way where you don't have to change your game. So it doesn't matter if Anthony Edwards walks in the gym, Quentin Grimes walks in the game. If you still Savia Wheeler, you compliment everybody on the court. You make everybody better. And so that's the first thing that's in reference to the daddy ball thing. What was the second part of that question? The second part of it was being able to coach your son and other kids. Yes. So other kids is first building the trust and equity that I want what's best for them. And I'm going to work. I'm going to call you. I'm going to call Jim Hicks. I'm going to call different guys to make sure that our kids are being noticed, because I think it's worse to be overlooked and underrated. You know what I'm saying? I don't want my kids being overlooked. So I'm going to give them a certain light. You know, I think I may be a light for some, right? I see these lights here. Like, I'm going to brighten the room for some people. Some people I'm going to be a ladder to. Like, you can get up on my back and you can climb up to another level. You know what I'm saying? We just don't want to be overlooked. So in terms of that, I think there is an attitude that they know that I'm here to help them. Because chances are, if I'm coaching, I'm in the gym with them. Right? It's very few kids, unless they don't have the work ethic or that's their goal, is just to play. I've had kids like that, really good kids like that. I got kids like that this year that didn't necessarily work on their game, but they want to be part of a greater Houston Christian experience. And that's okay. You know what I'm saying? There's nothing wrong with that either. But for the guys who want to get to the next level, I'm probably in the gym with them. So the parents know that I've invested in their child. There's some emotional currency there. There's some time commitment there that I built another level of trust where they know I'm not just in it for my kid, because my kid's going to get what he's going to get based on his performance and what my resources are. So I think they know I'm in it to help their other kids as well. And I was coaching before I had children, and I'm quick to share that. You know what I'm saying? So it's not, if I had all daughters, I would still be coaching. You know, I'm just grateful and blessed enough to have 3 sons. And the success in coaching, you are in the Houston Christian Associate Head Coach, coaching staff. You guys have won, you said four out of the last 6. SPC, a private school in the Houston area. Excuse me, private school in the Texas area. State championships. So you had a ton of success, not only on the Adidas circuit with BU, but on the high school level at Houston Christian. Again, that success sometimes breed envious. Success can breed envy. Sure. And so it may be kids who need to come see you, need to be in your gym because maybe their dad or their handler is envious of the success you're having, of the success of your kids. Like, what is that like for you? Because, again, for me, I always tell people, like, yo, you need to go see Teddy Wheeler, get your son better, get in the gym, you know, if you want to go to a certain level, because he's proven it. He's done it, you know. I'm grateful for that. Thank you. And even, like you said earlier, with Montana, he's had a phenomenal senior season. Sophomore season. You guys never duck smoke, ever. Big time schedule. You play everybody. You talk about matchups, national games, statewide games. For him to see that through his brother and you, the good and the bad, ups and downs, like you said about the Floyd Mayweather, it's like now, like, not only can he get it from you, he got it from him. Yeah, and that's different. And so now it's like it's a lineage. So now he's looking at the lens is different. Like, oh, okay, I see where this went well.
I see what this didn't work. Now it's almost like a
2.0.
A mad scientist almost. You got the formula. Oh, okay. I saw this formula didn't work. Now it's I can do X, Y, Z and change. And you can tell by his play. And I always tell people, like, you know, there's a thing about productivity. I'll put out on him on social media, and for me, it's the production is always king. I'm a produce guy. Yo, is he producing?
Absolutely.
I'm
at the highest levels. They care about the data.
Yeah, like I'm working on the prospect part of it.
Yeah.
But for me, I'm a little, you know, older school, so it's like, yo, is he getting it done?
Is he getting it on?
Yeah, like is
he getting it on?
No matter what, is he getting it done? You know, and so for me, for you just was saying that with Montana, like seeing it from a different lens, he has a big time advantage.
Sure. So I don't remember the question because I was so, you know.
Well, yeah, no, I was just saying for Montana, your son now again, seeing what his brother's gone through in high school and going through in college, like how much more prepared is he? Oh,
he's super prepared. He had a cheat code. So first, you know, he's been playing 17 since the 7th grade. You know what I'm saying? And matching up then.
And that's the other thing too.
You know what I'm saying? So
not
we
to
could
cut you
get
off,
to that.
I say this. Like as a kid, Justin Begg, I always tell people about him. He's been in the gym with a lot of dudes. Yo, like NBA player, like real player. The same for your sons. Like so like when you're in the gym with dudes, it's almost like if you have a work ethic, it'll rub off on you.
Oh, sure it will.
It's like, yo, like you watching these guys, it's like, yo, like I'm seeing this dude in the gym every day. I'm on the same court. It's kind of like what I tell parents about myself, OTR exposure. Like whatever your kid has done in the grassroots of high school, I've done it. I was in those same hallways. I went to Eisenhower High School in Houston.
Talk about it.
Your son's at the Woodlands or Houston Christian. Like he's in Houston, Texas. He's going to play AAU. He's going to go to All-American camps. Like I've done that. So like I understand the peaks and the valleys and the literally like the ways you're going. I've been there. So when you are in the gym and you're seeing these guys before you and you're living it, you walking through it, you're like, yo, I saw him do this. So your son see Quentin Grimes in the All-Star weekend. Yeah. He can, in his mind, flash back like 5 years ago. She was in the gym with us every day. And so, again, he has this advantage because he's lived it, breathed it.
Yeah.
You know?
I think that just, you said Houston Christian took you back to your point you was making earlier just about the envy. I think envy is different from jealousy, and I could tell you what jealousy is, but we're not talking about that right now. But envy is about covetousness. It's like you coveting what someone else has, even though you haven't done what they've done to deserve
get there.
that.
Yeah.
Right. That's an evil energy. That's nothing of God. That's envious. Right. So, them being envious of me being a coach at Houston Christian is just tell you what type of polarity we working with, right? So I don't necessarily pay too much attention, and I could look at somebody and know if they envy me, because what the Lord has given me is discernment. I could see that. I could see that coming. I don't get too caught up in that in terms of that. I think that I've tried to do my best to build kingdoms, right? To kind of, be a resource to people, help people take the next step. I was glad that Rodney Anderson from A-Leaf Clovers came and joined our squad, you know what I'm saying? He came and gave us an energy. But I've been doing that consistently since I've been, not just with kids, but with adults as well. So I don't.
That's a fact. And I'm going to cut you off because a lot of people know this. I have an issue, or had an issue. Well, there was an issue. Like I say, let me back up. I didn't have an issue. There was an issue between me and another individual. And you called me several times like, yo, he's a king, you're a king. We should not, you should act accordingly. You should do X, Y, Z.
That's right.
We should build each other up.
That's right.
And so in those conversations, me being from where I'm from, you having a similar background, you knew my emotions and how I really felt. And obviously you going through your own deal with yourself and your sons, like you've been there before. And so what you just said was about you building kingdoms. You were very instrumental in keep reminding me, hey, you have to do X, Y, Z. You have another assignment.
That's right.
And that's not easy.
That's right.
To do. Because you could have been out of it. Like, yo, that's
ain't got nothing to do with me.
Ain't nothing to do with me.
Yeah, my kids is prospering.
Yeah, but you mentioned about the kingdom building. And so, again, it took a while, but it resonated with me because it's like, it's somebody watching me. and they're looking at how I respond to certain things. And then maybe I don't even know who it is.
Hold on a second. I can't ignore my son.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm on this live Marcus Sloan podcast. Yeah, so I just finished talking about you. I'm gonna hit you back. So I get out of here. All right. Peace. Yeah.
And so it helped, I guess, propel and kind of push me forward, because I was in a place where anything I saw, I was reactive.
Sure.
But you were, again, I'm gonna keep saying this, kingdom building. You reminded me like, yo, somebody watching you.
Yeah.
You have a brain, people watching you. Like, I wouldn't respond like this, I would do this. So it's a testament to you when you talk about kingdom building. That's the thing a lot of people don't have in the whole discernment piece, or discernment a gift that you have is something that, again, I give you your flowers on. But when you say kingdom building, that resonates with me, because that's something I lived it with you.
No, that's right.
You know what I mean? So
that's right.
It has helped me grow. And so when you talk about like building kingdoms and you being a ladder, I think people need to understand that you can, especially us as black men, you can use not to like climb on his back and step on him, but you can give another guy flowers, or you can give another guy advice. You can lift him up.
You can give him a hand.
And like help him get to a certain place. You've always done that. So I definitely want to commend you on
so
that for sure.
In terms of the envy, we don't spend too much time on. We identify where that coming from, just so we know, we can see that coming. But we don't spend too much time. As far as the Montana thing, he's definitely had a benefit of having access and greater resources to higher level thought, higher level thinking, higher level players. Because Xavier, we had a couple guys. Jonathan Momore was my guy. He's starting point guard at Georgetown, graduated from Georgetown.
Yep.
Daniel, you told me, is one of my guys. Antono Jackson was probably one of the first ones, graduated from New Mexico. So we had guys with Xavier, but by the time Xavier got to college in Montana, was ready to step forward into the responsibility of being a Montana Wheeler, we had a plethora of dudes. We had maybe 100 dudes, maybe 50 guys in that time in the gym. So when we went through that whole COVID thing, when he was like in middle school, it was the guys who was really hungry, because the news was saying, yo, you might die if you get COVID. Some of those kids was in the gym. Chaz Kelly, who having unbelievable success at Boston College. Brody Robinson, Junior Lofton, Reuben Jones, Miller Cobb, Anderson Cobb. Like those, the COVID Chronicles was crazy in that gym at that time.
I remember that.
Those are kids who loved it the most. And so Montana's a 7th grader. And there's no other court to get on. It's no main court and weak work court. It's just the main court. And so that growed him up. That fast-tracked his maturation. So he looking at a dude, now he might be good, but it's like, man, you're not Xavier. You know what I'm saying? You're not Reuben Jones. You're not LJ Cryer. You know what I'm saying? So the intimidation factor is removed. The fear factor is removed. It's just now it's about executing, elevating teammates, making reads. And that's stuff he can do because he's done it over a period of time. Now at 16 years old, you know what I'm saying, he can do that in his sleep.
No, he's been killing. Teddy, again, man, but before we close the show, I want to publicly give you your flowers. First and foremost, being a father, taking care of your family.
Sure.
Again, he's one of the guys. You are one of the guys who, even for myself, like when you kind of in the spotlight and you see certain things, and
talk about it.
Like you kind of like, yo, like you could be a guy. You know, some guys in the spotlight, they got multiple women, or they kind of doing their thing, but when you're in the spotlight, or you had a high profile person, and you see a family man, and you see a guy like, yo, like take care of his family, it's my wife and my kids, into the business, that's it. For me, being younger, it's kind of like, yo, like, okay, if this is my purpose, somebody watching me, like I can look at Teddy and be like, yo, this man, he got his family, he got his kids, he got his purpose, and that's it. There's nothing extra. It's no fluff. You know what I'm saying? So I want to give you flowers for being an example, even for guys like me who kind of like, yo, like, okay, this is my purpose. Let me lock in on my purpose and see like where it could go. Because again, man, like Xavier Wheeler is 5 what? Like
5'9".
Yo, he's
at the combine. He might be 5'8.5".
He's went to Georgia and Kentucky. He's hot, like
all SEC 2 times.
You know how many players It's a how many 5'8" guards it is.
Down as the all-time leader
in assists in SEC history.
Facts.
You know what I'm saying? And you have your family. You have your like it's a legacy thing for you.
Sure.
So I want to give you your flowers on that. I want to give you your flowers on what you do in the gym, getting these kids better. For me, being a Houstonian, you're helping other Houstonians.
Yeah, it's dope.
Like get to the next level, get a college degree, take care of their family, get to the league, take care of their family, go on like using basketball, the things you taught them to get to the next level. That's another piece. And just being a kingdom builder, again, giving you flowers on that, man. I appreciate you. The city appreciates you. I think our basketball community appreciates you. And the things that you've done and that you're doing, very, very, very few people at this level can say that they've done that, and they've had the success you have. So I want to publicly give you your flowers. Is what we do.
No, I appreciate that.
On Sloan Colfax. And before we go, I always ask everyone, this is the 5 Sloan Colfax. I need the 5 best players you've ever coached, not your sons.
Ooh,
not your sons.
Montana.
Yep.
That's deep. By position or regardless of position?
Regardless of position, the 5 best.
5 best. Accomplished
when
they were with me.
No, you've ever coached.
Now I'm saying when they were with me, or the successes.
They've had.
Man, I got to start where it started. So Julius Hodge, shout out to Jules. Julius Hodge got to be top 5. He was ACC player of the year. He took NC State to a tournament. I mean, he was McDonald's All-American. I saw him get 40s and 50s and unbelievable skill, dribble, pass, shoot, 6'7", 6'8". He would be even more revered now in today's game. Just an absolute mismatch. If you don't know who Julius Hodge is, go find him on YouTube.
You gotta Google Julius.
He had an unfortunate incident that kind of changed his career, but man, he was as good as it come.
Yeah.
Julius Hodge, start with that, and then I gotta go Quentin Grimes. Quentin Grimes is a program builder.
Absolutely.
He was a program builder. He stayed loyal. The kid that people took shots at was one of the most loyal dudes that ever came through grassroots because he had the chance to do whatever he wanted. I lost a couple relationships. I wouldn't call them friendships. But I lost a couple relationships behind that because of the inability to get that kid to change where his loyalty lied. So, and his family was A1. Mama's super A1.
Yeah.
Dad was solid.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? They was unwavering in their support of me. But Quentin Grimes on the court, he had 44 and 11 in live period.
Yeah.
Just ridiculous at 15 years old, just taking over games and just really helping us put the flag literally on Pluto.
Yeah.
And just we was taking on like, what you got?
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I'm saying? Some dudes ain't even want no smoke with us. But anyway, Quentin Grimes got to be, I'm not putting him in order, I'm just putting the starting 5 out there. The next guy I would say, is LJ Cryer.
Yeah, cooking right now too. He cooked my frogs last
week. LJ Cryer,
a big 23
LJ
points.
Cryer, I played through him for a summer. Him and Xavier were the best backcourt in the country. Your favorite shoe company teams, whatever that name is, whoever could tweet this out, didn't want nothing. They ain't want nothing with that. They didn't want to play them. We couldn't get no games. We had to go around the country. But anyway, that's besides the point. Straight like that. Buckets, 2nd grade, 3rd grade, 6th, 7th. He stayed with me for a summer preparing for high school, 7th and 8th grade. In there every day. Dad was super A1. High school, unguardable.
Yeah.
Just like, you can't check him.
For sure. You
can't check him.
Probably going to get Big 12 Player of the Week.
Can't check him. Can't check him. So he's got to be up there. Man, it's getting tight. It's getting tight. My sons are not included. That did me a favor, too, by the way. 5 best.
You got 3 right now.
I got 3. Man, I got to put Greg Brown in there.
Okay.
I got to put Greg Brown in there.
Okay.
Greg Brown was like just spectacular. Athleticism, spectacular.
Yes.
Got a chance to be in the gym with him, coach him, help him. And it was him just having a light on him. Like, he didn't need me to do it. I get stupid talented. Ridiculous talent. He going to make his way to where he's supposed to be in the long run if he just stay committed to it. His talent undeniable. If you think about today's, you know, he may be 20 years old, turning 21. You know what I'm saying? Like in yesteryear, he'd still be like a sophomore in college, getting ready for his junior year. So, Greg Brown, spectacular talent, crazy athleticism, creativity, rebound, kind of like my sons. That's the matchup. Cool. Don't double. We playing straight up.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Kind of like that. So Greg Brown would be in that, you know, McDonald's All-American, all that stuff as well. And then Miller Kopp.
Yeah, I was about to say that. Yeah, I saw a video on his TikTok
Miller Kopp.
from when you was training him. He must have been like 8 years old or something.
So the thing about Miller is that at every step, they told me he was going to struggle.
Yeah.
I'm saying they told Teddy Wheeler that Miller Kopp was going to struggle.
Yeah.
High school, man, he's too slow. He can worry about his foot speed, boom, but his footwork, impeccable.
Impeccable.
Shot
I used to call him Matt Harpering.
Shot preparation, impeccable.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and then he grew into his athleticism. He worked at it, got in the gym.
Yeah.
So his work ethic made him more athletic.
Yeah.
But, you know, big games. I'm talking about AAU Nationals, 7th grade, 8th grade. You know, we got a deal because of that team, of those type of kids.
Yeah. I'm not going to lie, man. Like, that one year, y'all were on fire. Y'all got all them kids.
Super fire.
Y'all had Greg in the gym, Will Baker.
I mean, we
Smith.
leaving out. Abdul Latish is the most outstanding player in the Pac-12. He didn't even make my list.
Yeah.
He didn't make top 5. He's tremendous.
So I'm not going to lie.
Calvin Solomon is a dude. He went inside the Duke and won that game at SFA.
He did.
Like, you talking about, he knocked off Garland with Maxey and Harris. I was at the game. I went there to watch that game. I was there.
You sure did.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
you sure did.
He was unbelievable. You know what I mean? And for a summer, that team went 34-3.
Yeah. It's tough.
We were blowing teams out with pros.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That same team had Jalen Green and the NBA Coach of the Year, Sam Mitchell. They come in the gym with Louis Vuitton bags. We got rid of them. That's when I knew, like, I'm not worried about Twitter. You know what I'm saying? That's the NBA Coach of the Year. Jalen Green's a top 2 pick in the draft, and we just
got him out of there.
Got him super out of there.
Yeah.
And Xavier was the best player on the court. So I don't necessarily I wish I had a roster, but you're saying 5. Miller Kopp, it's got to be in my lineup.
I'm not going to lie. Miller Kopp also helped jumpstart my, like, pushing the players.
Of course you did. But the high school piece, I had a dude that's a prominent scout tell me, yo, let him take Brown and go. I'm like, Brown? This kid shoots it. 6'7".
He was special to me, though.
Yo, you see what he did against Yates? Like, some of the games
Miller Kopp was so special. Like, I was telling people at the time.
I think he's the best white kid to ever come out of Houston.
I gotta go back. Greg Kite from here.
I'm just saying, you struggling.
I'm not gonna lie. I remember Miller that summer, people were telling me a couple other dudes with better wings than him. I'm not gonna say the
frying dudes.
I'm not gonna say the kid's name because they're like at
frying dudes,
low major now. But they were saying that. I was like, y'all crazy.
Crazy.
Look at him.
He's a starting small forward in Indiana right
now.
Like,
look at him.
But you know, every step he kept getting better.
Correct. Yep.
Willing to do. His dad and mom would drop him off in 3rd Ward.
Yeah.
Let him come to the park.
Yeah.
Not Fundy. The park in 3rd Ward.
Yeah, and train.
Like, yes, and train. We outside. We
I saw the video.
Yeah, like Miller Kopp is in my top 5 for sure.
Was a dude.
And I was just waiting to make that dramatic, by the way, Miller. Yeah. It was an early pick. I just wanted to wait, keep everybody's suspense going.
Teddy Wheeler, man, we appreciate you joining Sloan Colfax, brother. Thank you so much. Giving your flowers. We appreciate you. Sloan Colfax signing off.